Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft. If you've not subscribed to our channel, please take a moment to do that now. Also, if you have something positive or constructive to say, feel free to drop it in the comment section below, and I will try to get to it in the next couple of days. All right, moving right along to our second review from this collection, The Crawling Chaos and Others. Yes, I'm back into H.P. Lovecraft, trying to work my way through the rest of his, let's call these minor short stories. These are mostly collaborations, revisions, things that he did with other people under different names, and they, by and large, get left out of collections such as this, the complete fiction, but they do exist, and they do have a heavy H.P. Lovecraft influence. Today's story is Poetry and the Gods, written by Lovecraft himself and Anna Helen Crofts, published for the first time in September 20th in September 1920, rather, in the United Amateur. The way these reviews work, if you're new to the channel, is I'd give a brief synopsis of what happens in the story and then just sort of share some thoughts about what it all means, sort of where it fits into the Lovecraft canon. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? I don't get too technical. I don't get too opinionated, really, but I just like to share a few thoughts. And I do this mainly for my own enrichment, really. If you like it, if it happens to be informative to you, cool. So, one April evening, just after World War I, a woman named Marcia is lounging in her home. Her mind is sort of restless and unquiet, and she feels sort of out of place in her time and feels that perhaps she was born in the wrong year. She begins reading some poetry, some free verse, to try and give herself pleasure, give herself joy, and it's not really working. But later she drifts off, and she dreams that she is swept away by Hermes to an audience with Zeus. And here in this chamber, presumably on Olympus, she's surrounded by the gods, the pantheon of ancient Greece, and she doesn't speak Greek, but she can understand them sort of out of the beauty of their delivery. And also among them are many of the great poets from our own world, Homer, Shakespeare, Milton, Keats, and I guess Keats is the most recent to her time period, the most contemporary. It's explained to her that the gods are not, in fact, dead, but slumbering, and that poets have been sent to the world across the generations to sort of remind people of their beauty and their power, and sort of to work as heralds of their eventual, inevitable return. And then she is told that you should keep a watchful eye out for some amazing poet, because we have another herald about to be sent to you to give our gift of beauty and the arts to the world, and to sort of remind humanity that the gods still exist. They're just sleeping, and they will eventually come again. Years later, still laying in the same room, Marcia is sitting, and there's a poet there, a young poet, and he's been taking the world by storm, and he's reading one of his latest works, which has not been heard by anyone else. And remarkably, she feels that sense of joy that she'd been looking for all along. So, I'm not sure how much of the balance of this story is Lovecraft, how much of it is Crofts. However, I would say that it almost feels autobiographical to what I know of Lovecraft. Lovecraft is, one, known to not be a fan of modern poetry, modern free verse. He kind of sort of found it appalling. He was very much into more antiquarian things, classic poets, classic poetry, classic everything. He very much seemed to be a man born out of his time, and I think he felt that way, just judging by what I know of his autobiography. And so with that in mind, I think this is heavily, this story is heavily influenced by Lovecraft more than Crofts. It's not terribly interesting to read. The act of the reading, it's not the best Lovecraft in that respect. It's not engaging from a language standpoint. However, as I read and as I finished and I started jotting down notes and thinking about it, and I think the ideas are very, very strong. I love the idea of poets and writers and the beauty they create being God sent, being a earthly manifestation of gods, of divinity, of something beyond them, something that moved through them and is delivered to us, mere mortals, us readers in the world. I think that is a beautiful sentiment, and I think that anybody who likes to write, as I do, you kind of hope that at some point, something will come out of you that is something you don't quite know if it's there, and something that transcends you. You're sort of in the alchemy of writing, in that process, something that unexpectedly good could come out of you and sort of transcend you, if that makes any sense. But this is written just post World War I, taking place post World War I, and I keep thinking that to Lovecraft, it had to have felt like the end of the world, and that things were crashing down, society was crumbling, and it makes sense in that context that you would go to the arts, bury yourself in the arts for sort of relief from that, and for some reassurances that the world is not coming to an end. And in that way, literature is a source of great comfort to readers, and I think that's certainly the case with Lovecraft. He's known to have been uneducated in a formal sense, but he buried himself in the library of his grandfather's house. And getting towards the end of this here, I always find a way to get Tolkien into these things, and I am very much reminded of Tolkien. There's a part of Tolkien that said that a strain of the Valar's blood is existent in man. It's passed down from, there was a union between a Maiar and an elf, and then an elf and a human, and that it's manifest in the art that each creates, and it's sort of a leftover element from the gods that is handed down even into the present day, into mankind. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment that I'm very much reminded of in this story. That said, I think if there was a primary inspiration for this story, it's probably Lord Dunsany, who I know, again, was a source of influence for Lovecraft and for a lot of creators of, for Tolkien as well, but for people whose worlds have pantheons of fictional gods, fictional deities. I think that's probably the most likely source of inspiration for this story from Lovecraft, without doing any sort of deep research into that to know that for sure. But there you go. Poetry and the Gods, 1920. H.P. Lovecraft and Anna Helen Crofts from the September 1920 edition of United Amateur. Moving right along, we'll be picking things up in a few days with the third story from this collection, The Crawling Chaos, and I'm looking forward to that very, very keenly. I hope that you will subscribe, maybe join the channel for $1.99 a month, maybe leave a positive or constructive comment, share your thoughts and feelings on this story, and come be part of this this channel, which has nearly 4,000 subscribers, but we really want to build a community here, and we haven't done that yet. And for various reasons, some of it our faults, some of it just chance. But I think that my Lovecraft videos and my Bradbury videos, all my short fiction videos have proved pretty popular, pretty useful to a lot of people who are doing their own sort of research, whether it be for school or for their personal enrichment. And I think that that is something that Let's Talk can build on and make a community out of. And I hope that you would come and join that community. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep it creepy.